So the discovery phase, this is the most important step in the sales process. Do not rush through it, all right? So why don't you go ahead and read the first paragraph there first.
The lesson one?
Yep.
You must identify what is most important to the customer, what information they already have, and how best to proceed through the sales process. If you feel that identifying any of these components up front and addressing them during the rest of the process, you have lost the customer for good. They won't buy a car today, they won't return any phone calls, and they won't tell their friend anything good about you or your dealership.
Right, so here's the deal with that, right? And the reason why it's so important to listen through this phase is you're listening for a lot of different things, and I'll get ahead of us just a tad, but you're listening to what they say, you're listening to what they don't say, you're listening to what they're implying, right? So it's a deeper level than what a lot of people are used to. It's not just the words that are coming out of their mouth, it's their articulation, it's their hand movements and body gestures, it's the whole thing. So listening is a big deal. And really what this comes down to is at the end of this phase, you should be able to speak the same language as the customer. And you guys have all heard me say that, right? And I'm not talking about English or Spanish, I'm talking about what's important. So whatever's most important to the person that you're with, that's what you need to focus on, right? And you need to focus on it throughout the whole process. Why don't you go ahead and read the second paragraph there.
Most salespeople hear what the customer says, but haven't listened to what they actually mean. Hearing the words is very different than understanding what was said or meant. When you are truly listening to what the customer is saying, you can grasp not just the words, but the actual meaning.
Okay, so perfect example of that. If you're asking somebody, what do you not like about your car anymore, and they say, well, it's got 150,000 miles on it. Well, is that something they shouldn't be happy about? I mean, if they spent the money on the car and they got 150,000 miles on it, they should be pretty happy about that. They probably got all their money.
All the way up to 250,000.
Right. So what are they actually saying?
I don't trust it.
What they're saying is, I don't trust that car anymore. Now I need to move on and get back into something that I can trust, and have faith in. Go ahead and finish that last part up.
Listen to understand, not respond. If you're thinking about what to say next, you're not listening to the customer. Have you ever been cut off halfway through a statement by someone who thought they knew where you were going, and their hasty response had almost nothing to do with what you were saying?
I have actually a very good example of this. That Tiguan video I was working with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at Mazda, okay? Come to Tiguan, looking at it, and her thing, I want navigation in the car. But before that, it's the price. She does not want to spend $30,000+ on a car, right? She want to be in 20s, but navigation, that's all I'm hearing from her. Navigation, I like to know where I'm going. I like to know this and that, blah, blah, blah. Hey, App Connect, you can plug in your phone, I'm trying to resolve that concern.
Right.
Oh, I don't have smartphones. I don't do smartphones. Okay, so now I emphasize again, there's still this App Connect. You don't need to pay a lot more money just to get navigation in the car, but you can use, I don't do that. Okay, I'll listen to that, right? Now, we have one Tiguan that comes with navigation, which is the CL. It's $38,000 car, right? That's what I did next. All right, I got a car for you. So I open up the CL, navigation. Oh, this is nice, blah, blah, blah. Now she's looking at the Mirani. It's $38,000 car. I said, exactly. So how about you buy the little TomTom or Garmin and stick it in your window, and it's free. You pay only once. You can get somewhere from $50 to $150. Oh yeah, exactly. That's why if navigation is the biggest thing, there we go. Problem solved.
And that's resolving a problem.
Right.
I mean, showing options and then, presenting a solution that they're going to be receptive to.
Right.
So in a case like that, if somebody's saying, I have to have this, have to have this, have to have this, have to have this, and you know that it doesn't come in a package that's more of an entry level, that's going to cost a lot of money, coming up with those solutions, that's what we really get paid to do.
Right.
At the end of the day, right, is I have to have A, B, and C. How can you make it work for me? But the only way that you're going to get through an issue like that is, number one, knowing what they need, knowing what the issue is, and then being able to intelligently reason through that problem.
Even though I knew that she would not like the price of that car, but I showed her anyway, because that's what she wanted me to do.
Right.
Show her what she's looking for, what she wants. Now, I showed her that, now it's up to her. What's her next reaction about price.
Well, and that's straight up. That's listening to understand instead of listening to respond. Because had you cut her off half sentence and started giving her a solution to half of her statement,
right,
you wouldn't have come to a good understanding there, right? Okay, so what are we listening for? So customers buying motives, and this to me was very telling when I was actually training on this several years ago. To me, safety was one thing, performance was one thing, appearance was one thing. It was all that was from my perspective. But because we're dealing with people every single day and they're all different, their perceptions of what safety means could be very different. So, for example, safety. Are my kids secure in the back seat? What happens in the case of a high-speed crash? How easy is it to break into the car? Right? Not necessarily something most of us would think about for safety, but if something of value is in the car, how easy is it for somebody to break into? Performance. How fast can I go from 0 to 60? How well does it corner? So once I'm doing 60, am I going to be able to go around a corner at 60? Right? And how easy is it to merge into traffic? Right? So performance isn't just speed, it's handling, it's a lot more than just a single perspective, right? You and I think, are of the same mentality, right? How fast can I get there? Well, and you drive a motorcycle, so you're even more than the rest of us. So appearance, same thing, sleek lines. What about the interior, right? Is it aggressive looking from the outside? Comfort. How's it going to do on a long drive? Are the seats comfortable for me? Does it have climate control or does it have air conditioning? Is it something that I'm going to have to worry about? Economy could be price of the car, could be gas mileage, could be maintenance costs.
Repair costs.
So all of these have many different facets, and that's why I say listen, listen, listen. You have to hear all of it. And then finally, dependability. So longevity, how often is maintenance or repairs needed, and at the end of the day, is it going to get me where I'm going, right? So these are the things that you're looking for. So safety, performance, appearance, comfort, economy, dependability. Con, why don't you go ahead and read the next part, starting with the analyze phase.
There are two ways to begin the analyze phase. The customer states, I'm here to see a specific vehicle. The customer states, I'm just looking. Either way, we are going to take similar approaches. First thing you're going to do is ask permission to continue. In order to maximize your time, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
Okay, perfect. So the way that this works in the real world, right, is you go out, you greet somebody, you say, hi, my name's Aaron, welcome to the dealership, how can we help you today? And they say, I'm just looking. Okay, fantastic. In order to maximize your time, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Right? Or if they say, I'm here to see this specific vehicle, okay, fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and start making our way over there, but in the meantime, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? So either way you go, you're going to ask permission to continue. What this does in the customer's mind is it does build a little bit of rapport because you at least asked. You didn't just start, stomping through the china shop. Plus, when they give you that permission, it puts them in control of the transaction. So if you control the transaction literally from the very beginning to the very end, how happy are they going to be about that when they're leaving, whether they buy a car or not?
Minimal at best.
They're not going to be very happy. They're going to feel like they were pushed through the process, trampled along the way. They need to feel like they're in control of the process. So by asking, in order to make the best use of your time, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? It gives them control. They could say no. I mean, most people aren't going to. You might run into somebody who's like, well, I really don't have time. I just need to see that car real fast. Okay, great, come. Right? Don't make any of these a stumbling block. Right? Just use them as a thermometer to find out where we are. All right? Why don't you go ahead and read the next part.
If they are here to see a specific vehicle, then our next question is, what was it about that vehicle that excited you? They will say price, performance, appearance, safety rating, etc.
Okay, so the average person does 19 hours of research before they come to the dealership, right? So the thing about that is they are, in a lot of cases, they're going to know just as much about this car in particular as you do, right? They may ask you questions to trip you up to see if you know, because if you don't know, now you're kind of a fool, right? You're not really the professional that you're supposed to be. So you better know that information, right? You need to know the cars that you're selling. So as a good piece here, when they say, well, I'm here to see the blah, 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 whatever it is. Okay, great. What was it about that vehicle that excited you? Then they can start giving you some of that information. Well, I like the performance. I like the fact that it's got this much horsepower, blah, 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 blah. But what you need to do, and the reason for these questions, is you have to peel back the onion. You have to peel back the layers so you can get to what's really important. Because once you have that information, then we can serve them in a way that they're going to be very happy with, very receptive to whatever offer that we give them, and chances are they're going to drive the car home, right? Because really all we have to do at the end of the day, because they've already done all their research and they're only going to visit 1.4 dealers before they buy a car, really all we have to do is just not mess up and just be the one that they visit, right? So what was it about that excited you start getting some of that information? Con, go ahead and read the next one. If they say
they are just looking, then we ask them if you could build a perfect vehicle, what would it look like? They would say a Corvette, wagon, SUV, etc.
Okay, so why is that question so important? And actually specifically the word or the words look like. If you could build the perfect vehicle, what would it look like?
But it actually gives you what's in their mind, what they're looking for.
It's just their...
So you can narrow it down: Jetta, Passat,
right,
SUV, smaller SUV, bigger SUV.
They see that car in their mind's eye, right? So if you build the perfect car, what would it look like? So you're inducing a reaction. Instead of, if you build the perfect car, what would it be? What would it look like? This opens up a lot of possibilities here. Well, it would be a little sports car, probably 2 doors, red, good horsepower, it's got to handle really well. Yeah, yeah. But as they're doing that not only are they giving you information, but they're also building a connection to this car. So as long as the car that we show them is something similar to what they saw in their mind, then, now we've got basis for a good transaction. Right? So if you build a perfect car, what would it look like? So if they say, well, a Corvette or a wagon or SUV or whatever the case may be, great. Tell me more about that. Because if they just say, well, it would look like a Corvette, what do you know?
Performance, probably.
Okay, but what type of performance?
Horsepower. Patterson. But that's things you don't know.
You're guessing.
Yeah.
Right? You're guessing.
It could be the performance of it. Could be...
The whole purpose of this phase is to make it so that you don't have to guess. So if somebody says, if I can build the perfect car, what would it look like? It would look like a Corvette. Awesome. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
I love that question. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Give me more information. So another way to do that, and they call this another form of mirroring. So they say, well, a Corvette. And you go, a Corvette?
And that's it.
Right?
They're kind of like implying, what about that?
Yeah. Because what happens is it draws them out, right? And the longer you sit there and you wait and you look at them, the more uncomfortable it is. They have to start giving you more information, right? And that information makes it so that we don't have to do that. Because if you're guessing, you're losing. Right? We want to play to our strengths. Either question will give insight into the buying motives and what buying motives are driving the customer's purchase option It's important to know exactly what your customer needs and wants in order to completely satisfy their needs and make a sale. So, we talked in another training, the amount of what the percentage is of people that just walk in the door the first time actually buy a car. And it's probably somewhere between 10 and 25%. So using this technique is going to get you closer to that 25%, right? That's why we have to master this. So, all right, so what are you driving now? So this question gives us some idea of what their current experience looks like. So if they're driving a minivan,
Space.
okay, do they still need space?
Yeah, it could have
That's
just
what you
been,
gotta ask.
could have been the family car that was passed down to them, and they
Could
absolutely
be
hated it.
they want better economy because minivans are crazy.
Okay, so what are we doing again?
That's
Yeah,
the
so-
question.
But what you're doing right now is guessing.
Guessing, yeah.
So if they're driving a minivan or if they're driving a sports car, neither one of these gives us enough information to really be able to move forward in the process. So okay, so
Question would be, what do you like about this car?
That-
You're driving already.
we're going to move to that in a second. But before that, okay, why are you wanting to get out of this one? Well, 2 of our kids are grown up and they're moved out and we don't need a minivan anymore. Right? Or in this case, where somebody's got a sports car, why do you want to move out of that car? Well, I got to be able to put kids in the car. Right? So there's different reasons why people need to get out of this. Maybe on either one of them. Well, it's got 150,000 on it. Right? So maybe they're thinking moving back into something similar to this, or maybe they're going to go with something completely different. Right? So, okay, so go ahead and read the next part there.
What are you driving now? This question gives us some idea of what their current experience looks like. What do you like about that car? This question allows you to learn what is important to the customer. They might talk about specific features, gas mileage, appearance, how many people or cargo fit in it, etc. This is when you should start picturing what car in your inventory you are going to show them.
Okay, so you guys all walk your inventory every single morning, right?
Pretty much.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I know my inventory.
Okay.
Try me.
How many cars are on the hump on the right-hand side on the used car lot?
One.
Why?
Because somebody pulled their car out to take pictures
Mm-hmm.
and never put it back.
Except that the person who went to go take pictures of it wasn't here first thing this morning like I was. Did anybody
Good observation.
fill that hole?
Nope.
Okay. Very good. I'm glad you said one. I'm still not happy about it. But yeah, you need to know your inventory. So, they've said, well, I've got a sports car. Okay, great. What do you like about that car? Well, it handles really good. It's really fast. It looks good. When I walk up to it, it just gives me a level of confidence. It's like it just everything about it feels good. I really, really like this car. Okay, perfect. They might talk about features. Right? It's got a sunroof. They might talk about, gas mileage. Any number of things, and we can categorize pretty much whatever they're talking about to determine if we're talking with a performance-oriented, appearance-oriented, safety-oriented, whatever the case may be. So those things that they like, we definitely want to find those features in the next car. Okay? So go ahead and read the next part, William.
What do you not like about that car? This is a money question. This is a question that allows the customer to start to disassociate themselves from that car and opens them up for alternatives that they may drive home today.
Okay, here's a beautiful thing about this question. What do you not like about that car? Well, I don't like that it's got 150,000 miles on it. The seats aren't comfortable anymore.
It gets 20 miles on the freeway. Crappy gas miles.
It gets 10 miles per gallon. Whatever the case may be, But the beautiful thing here is once they start telling you what they don't like about that car, at the end of your transaction, when they go and they haven't bought a car and they go climb back into that car to drive it home, what comes right to the surface? The fact that it's got 150,000 miles on it, the fact that the seats aren't comfortable anymore, the fact that it gets terrible gas mileage, they hate the color, the paint's peeling, the tires need to be replaced, and that's $800. I mean, you know, you have this laundry list of stuff with that old yucky car. And quite honestly, that car might be 2 years old. But what's one difference today that's standard equipment on a car today that wasn't standard equipment 2 years ago?
Backup camera.
Backup camera. Backup camera. If you've got young kids, you understand why it's important to have a backup camera. Because they'll race out behind you, you won't even see them. And then you go nice and slow, and they're not paying attention. You pop them and knock them down, and hopefully you heard. You know, that you hit them. But I mean, it's crazy. So, all right, so let's go to the next one. So, what websites have you visited as part of your research? This is huge. This is another money question. Most customers today do an average of 19 hours of research online before they visit a dealership. Knowing what information is important to them lets you drive the transaction that was never, in a way that was never available to you before. So, the way that I think about this is like this, is we want the customer to be in control, right? We control the process, they control the transaction, right? So we put them in the driver's seat, and we just sit in the passenger seat. We go, hey, would you like to go left or right? Would you like to go left or right? Would you like to go left or right? Do you like this or do you like this, right? You're giving them options all the way through until when we finally get to paperwork, and we go, okay, these are your different down payment options, and these would be your payments. Which way do you want to go? Right? They're so used to making choices throughout the transaction that last choice is pretty easy. Well, yeah, I can do $3,000 and $425 a month. And you come back and wrap it up. Right? Nice and easy. That's why I say you guys don't really... Wiggle. I mean, you guys don't really have to stress. I mean, this is like the easiest, most fun job on the planet when you do it right. When you don't do it right, it's the most difficult, it's the most mind-numbing, brain-damaging job you will ever have in your life. But when you decide to make this a career, and you take ownership, and you have a process that's the same every single time, dude, it is so easy. It is so easy. All right, so what websites have you visited as part of your research? So this is also a completely non-threatening question in their mind. Customers need to be acknowledged when it comes to doing their research. This question lets us validate their time as well as gain valuable insight into the information that is most important to them. Okay, so this is what you need to know. So what websites say about your customer? If they've been to Edmunds, what does that mean?
New car discounts.
They know they have some pricing ideas. Right? If they've been to Cars.com or AutoTrader, what does that mean?
Shopping used ones, and they know price ranges.
Those are used cars. If they've been to KBB.com, what does that mean?
Value.
They know what their trade value is worth. If they've been to the brand site, what does that mean?
They've probably built the car they want.
They've probably built the one.
Perfect picture of that car.
Know what kind of national programs.
And Volkswagen, you click right on the thing, and it shows you the car. You pick the color, it changes the color of the car. You can spin it 360 degrees either way. Then you click on the interior, you get to pick the color of the interior. It shows you that. You can spin that 360 degrees. You know, plus you can pick the equipment. And what else do you see once you've built it all out?
Golden price.
You see the price.
So, right, and then it also shows you if there's any nearby.
Okay, and then the most important one, if they've been to our website, what does that mean?
Then that's a deal.
Why?
They know what
Because
they
we
want.
have it.
You're absolutely right. It is a deal.
Because they know we have it, what they want.
They know we have
So it comes down to the first question, specific vehicle. Right there.
You know, so in the beginning, you know, hey, what brought you in today? Well, I'm just looking, right? And then later on, they tell you that they've been to our website. Oh, really? You know, you don't want to go back and go, oh, well, you've been to our website. You know we have the car. Which one is it?
You told me.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you lied to me earlier, didn't you? Right?
You mentioned that.
So you've been to our website. Did you find the car that you want on our website? Yeah, I did. It's, you know, stock number, you know,
Yeah, then they know the VIN number too.
VIN number there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's the VIN number. This is my internet price.
CEV on it and Carfax report on it, then
You know,
the photo comes out.
It is so funny, okay, and this is what customers will do, is they will collect all this information, and then when they come in to see us, they keep it all like this.
Do you know if we are honest or not?
They're just trying to find out who you are,
Right.
you know? So, but these questions give you a way to draw that out, you know, draw it out of them. But if they've been to KBB.com, even though we haven't talked about them trading in that car yet, you're going to have a pretty good idea that they're probably going to trade that car in, right? If they've been to cars.com, we're probably walking across the street to the used car lot.
And most of the customers do spill it. Oh, I'm thinking 10 grand. I'm thinking 9 grand. Something like that.
Like when you ask them, like,
Yep.
do you trade in? Yeah, that's probably who. It's this,
What do you
this,
think?
and that.
Yeah.
It's
What do you
probably-
think? What are your car worth?
Yep. Absolutely. So, and again, I have to emphasize, between the questions that we've asked here, and we've gathered actually some pretty good information, other questions are going to come up. Do you build a perfect car? What would it look like? Would it look like a Corvette? Great. What do you mean by that? You know, ask those questions in between so you can narrow it down to what is the most important. If you do that, then all we have to do when we're showing them the new car is just focus on those things. Now we're actually speaking the same language. We're telling them about what's important to them. You know, because if I start telling you about all the economy features and safety features and the child locks and the latch system and, you know, all this stuff about a car,
You don't care about that.
I'm going to lose you.
Really quick, yeah.
I might as well be Charlie Brown's teacher going, wah, 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 wah. And what's going through your head is, man, I hope the next guy isn't like this. You know, because you have to make that connection. All right, so we've gathered all this information. Now, what are we going to do next?
Summarize the information you have collected. Once you have collected all the information from the above questions, you are going to put it in your own words for the customer to show them that you are all on the same page. Let the customer know what you have. You have a firm understanding of their needs, will put them at ease and make the rest of the process much more enjoyable. This also builds a great deal of rapport with the customer. Now you start becoming a human, not just a car salesman or a badger.
Right, exactly. So, if this is you, great. So, it sounds like you want a sedan with a strong safety rating, good performance, and great fuel economy. Yes, exactly. If you get that out of your customer, green light. Now we can move on.
Money.
If they say, well, no, you know, this is also important. Okay, whatever they say, repeat it back to them. Okay, so this and this and this and this and this. Does that sound right? Yes. Perfect. Okay, so that piece of the transaction is over. All the questions, all the finding out information, all that kind of stuff, that piece of the transaction is done, right? Perfect. Now what are we going to do?
Build the chain. Finally, we're going to lay out the rest of the steps of the process so there are no surprises to the customer. We are very clear on what's going to happen next. This is called building the chain.
Okay, so before you read this next part, You know, how many times has it happened where you've asked them a few questions and, you know, we go look at a couple cars and then all of a sudden they have to go?
It happens.
It happens all the time, right? Or maybe we find the right car and we take it for a drive and then you get back and all of a sudden they have to go, right? Or you drive the car and yeah, that's great, you know, come inside and, you know, we maybe look at some numbers and then okay, I have to go, right? We're cutting all of that out with this process, okay? So when we build the chain, we're going to tell them exactly what's going to happen next. So go and build the chain.
Perfect. So here's what we do next. First, we go find the best car for you. Then we're going to drive it, make sure it's right. Then we're going to work together to get the best value for your dollar. Sound good?
I'm not buying a car today.
That's great. That means we can really slow down and focus on making sure you pick the right car, and we'll be able to make sure you have the best deal so you can make the best decision.
Great job. Great job. So, I mean, that's the thing, is at that point, we're going to get one of two things, but the word no, or them trying to halt what's going on, it puts them back in control. Now, what you do once that happens decides what's going to happen in your transaction. So you build the chain. Okay, perfect. This is what we're going to do next. Find the one that's perfect for you. Then once we find that car, we're going to drive it and make sure it's right. Then we're going to work together to get you the best value for your dollar. Sound good? Well, I'm not buying a car today. Perfect. So what that means is we can really take our time, find the perfect car, make sure everything's right, and then you'll have all the information that you need to make the right decision when the time comes.
Make a smart decision.
So what you've done is you've completely disarmed that no. That wall goes up, you just disarm, right? It's like I'm not buying a car today, Waylon. Okay, right? You just take the gun away, right? You just completely disarm so that we can continue to move through the process. Because otherwise what happens, right? You get this thing in your mind that's like, oh, they're not buying a car today. You know, everybody else is with a person, and everybody else is selling cars, and I got to get the one guy who's not buying a car, right? So when you diffuse that situation, and you say, you know, that's perfect. That means that we really get to take our time and find the perfect car for you, right? And then when you go, because you are going to go eventually, you're not going to be here all night, because I don't want to be here all night. When you go, you're going to have all the financial information, you have all the information on the car, you're going to have everything that you need to make the best decision when the time comes. Is that fair enough? Yes, that's fair enough. So now you start going through the process, and you go out and you look at a few cars, right? Okay, well, you know, let me go get my wife, you know, so we can come back and look at it together. Okay, we can do that, but before you go, why don't we drive it, make sure, you know, this is the right car, because if you go and get her and bring her back, and you don't like it, I mean, that would seem kind of silly, wouldn't it? You know, or you take a test drive and you get back, okay, cool, I gotta go, you know, thanks for letting me drive it. Well, hold on. Before you go, I told you I was going to get you some numbers. So you've already set up the whole process at the very beginning. Now you can complete the process. Now, does that mean that everybody's going to buy a car the first time?
No.
No. But if we can maximize that 25, 30, 40% on a first visit, now what kind of position are you in?
I gotta go. Breathe them in nice and slow.
Just nice and slow, man. I love that. You know, and then at the end, you know, great, let's go look at some cars. You know, so this is the absolute foundation of our process. If you complete this way every time, what do you think is going to happen?
They're sitting on the table with you. That's what I know.
Well, I mean, you know, these words become your words, first of all, right? And you say it from the heart, and it's more like a conversation.
We have done it so many times, and not reading, but listening, you know, I'm actually doing this.
You should
unconsciously.
It's so, dude, this makes it so easy.
Just by listening, and yeah. And actually, I am putting people on the table. Why or not, that's a different story. They're on the table.
If you build the chain,
Yeah.
at the end of this phase, if you don't get them to the table, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Because you already told them we were going to go sit down. You already told them that we were going to take them to the table. You know, you will get to the point where pretty much everybody that you talk to is going to sit down. I mean, but here's the thing, right? So getting somebody to drive a car sometime can be difficult, right? So let's say that we're only driving 50% of our people. Well, of the other 50% that don't drive a car, how many of those people buy a car from us?
From us.
None.
I think we just
Nobody
buy a car.
that doesn't drive a car buys a car. None of them. Zero.
They have to drive a car.
You have to drive a car, right?
Mhm.
Even if you're just walking through the lot and they go, hey, what's your best price on that car? It's 10 grand. Even though you're looking at a $20,000 car, they're going to buy that car. No, they still don't buy it. It doesn't matter what number you go. It doesn't matter. You have to drive the car. You have to build an attachment to the car.
Give them the mental ownership of the car by putting them behind the wheel.
Right.
It's very important.
Have them adjust the seat, adjust the steering wheel, adjust all the mirrors, put on the radio stations,
Chiptronic function.
right? Give them ownership of that car, right? Then when you get back, okay, well, I gotta go. Well, hold on, before you go, we're gonna get you some numbers. Oh, I'm not buying a car today. Yeah, I know. It's all right, come on. We're gonna tell you, we're gonna let you know what you can actually buy it for, so when the time comes to pull the trigger and buy a car, you know which one's
Yes, sir.
actually gonna be the best, right? Come on with me, let's go. Turn around and start walking, and don't even look back, and trust me, they will follow you right inside. Have a seat for a minute, I'm just gonna get some information. I'll be right there. Next thing you know, you got a write-up and a spiff, and sold the,
Oh, talking
sold the car.
about spiff, yeah, you gotta sign the spiff.
All right, very good. Okay, so any questions about this?
No.
This all makes sense?
That's all good, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, go ahead and stop the video then. Make sure you post your comments and like our page and subscribe and all that fun stuff.